I'm going to talk about security and especially like some practical security exploits I pulled off to some companies. The title of the talk is How We Hacked LinkedIn and What Happened Next. LinkedIn is not the only company we will be talking about. We will talk about eBay and Indiegogo as well, and especially on how we broke the security in a new kind of way. And at last, we will talk about how you are safe against these types of exploitations. And just a little bit about myself. I'm Ruben van Vreeland. I love web application security, and especially in the hacker way of like the art of exploitation. I usually hack web hosting, web infrastructure, web applications, and web platforms. And I started programming in like Visual Basic SAS, C#, PHP. I'm doing Java now. I'm co-founder of BitSensor. What we do with BitSensor is we give companies security insight, because it usually takes companies 9 months to detect they've been hacked, and we want to bring it down to 50 milliseconds. And last year in Amsterdam I was volunteer actually, and I really love like the GOTO conference. I used to watch like many YouTube videos of like speakers speaking here, and like I think it's great to be a speaker here as well now. There will be many demos, so I'll just like to start off with the Indiegogo demo and just show you a little bit about what we did on LinkedIn or on Indiegogo, how we hacked them, and just like show the exploit. So this is Indiegogo. It asks you to fill in your password. You click on login. The browser will autofill your password as well, so it really feels trusted. And suddenly you got redirected to a page that thanks you for credentials. And in the back, your credentials are exported to our controlled system, so we have your password in plain text. And just to show you that we're not like messing around with anything besides the web application, it's on the full HTTPS connection. So how did they work? Is it Is this black magic? Or what kind of attack do you think this is? Like anybody from the audience, what do you think? Ooh, scary. It's a cross-site scripting attack, and it's not really like the usual cross-site scripting attacks that you see. It's kind of more advanced way of doing cross-site scripting. So I like to dissect this specific attack in 5 steps. So we're first going to do a small introduction about cross-site scripting, keep it really easy. Then we do a visual demo with HTML and how we use styling. Then we show you how to do a whitelist bypass, or like kind of bypass. And then we'll show you a cool trick that you can pull off on the Internet Explorer and especially on the password autocomplete function of Internet Explorer. And then we do a demo combining everything. So that will be a lot of fun. And so cross-site scripting usually comes in the form of like this pop-up box that says, oh, like cross-site scripting. And we security people would just say, oh, well, if you have this pop-up box, we can do a lot of cool stuff, but you only often see this pop-up box, and it's like, okay, show you we can execute JavaScript in the context of the application inside your browser, but like, what can you really do with that? And so I prepared a demo for you with a browser exploitation framework. Too bad it didn't really work here. So I did it in PowerPoint in a demo. So what you see on the left is the web application, and then on the top layer is like the browser, and then you have the web page, and then there's this cross-site scripting vulnerability. And we as attacker, we control BEEF, and BEEF stands for the Browser Exploitation Framework. So we have the cross-site scripting vulnerability. We go to BEEF and ask for more JavaScript, more malicious JavaScript that we can go back with to the page and execute in the page. So now we have the payload in the web page. What we do now is we use the payload to actually take over the web page. Now this is like cool, but we can do more stuff than that. We have a command and control server with BEEF, so we can interactively go to the web page, change things, get stuff, and and export data. And what you have is the user data. You can change data, and you can have access to passwords if you want, with these really specific exploitation types. And so what we do is, to the web page, we can go to your user data. We can change data using just cost XHR requests, and we can have access to your passwords if you have like password auto-completion and stuff like that. It gets even better. If you attack a company that has web application that are protected from the outside, you can use Beef to get access to these firewall environments. So like one slide on like what the typical cross-site scripting factors are. Like usually have like script, then you put in your payload, or you do like an image source, and then like there's no like sanitation right there. There's so many ways that you have the link version. So you have a href, and then you say a JavaScript, and then execute like this JavaScript. So when somebody clicks on that link, he will execute the JavaScript. And then you have like, you can do it in the JavaScript payload, and then you can do it in the style actually. And that last one is really interesting. It works only on older version of Internet Explorer, but if you have access to the style attribute, then you can pull off JavaScript from there. And so like just a short demo, this is like with a link. You have JavaScript, you say, hey, alert, exploit me. You can execute JavaScript, you can like have access to all this cool stuff from the web application. But in reality, like nobody clicks this link, nobody is stupid. Say, hey, click on this malicious link and get pwned, lose my credentials. So you have to be a little bit more creative in the way on like how you trick users into exploiting or like into clicking on your exploit and like to exploit the user. And one way to do that is use styles, to use CSS. And the CSS, which is here, we just have the same link. But what we did with CSS, we made sure that the link is not only like one word, but it actually spans the full page. So width and height is 100%. You got the position fixed and like left and like full in the top. And I made it red here so you can see like where the link is. Let me switch to the demo. So here, if I'll zoom out a little bit. So this is maybe your typical web application. Like here is like big name company, it's a hello user, and you can write something about your fantastic project. And well, the programmers forgot to sanitize the input, so we're inserting our link here. And let me zoom in on like how this link works. So we have the JavaScript here. We say, hey, confirm. So when you click this, you say you execute your JavaScript. You can pwn that user. And the way we did it is now we have this background, so you actually see it spans the full page. Because like if you don't have the style, you get this out. And you say, hey, exploit. Like, well, would you click that link? Now probably not. So put in the style. Let's change the background. So you actually don't see anything right now. And everywhere you click, your payload gets triggered, and you can execute JavaScript in the application. However, there's a small problem we have here, and that has to do with cross-site scripting in the style attribute. So actually nobody allows the style attribute to be set, because like everybody's afraid of like this cross-site scripting attack to that. And so this is a whitelist, and people use whitelist to only allow like specific elements that they know that are safe. And like style is not one of them. So we have to figure out a way to still get our link to span the full page, but we can't use style. So like, what do we do? So in the page that I showed you, there's like this one line. It says, hey, import the style sheet. And this is actually just Bootstrap. I use Bootstrap because you find it in a lot of websites, and you can like easily recreate these proof of concepts that I'm showing you today. And in that style sheet, we have two CSS selectors that are created, embedded in there. And like actually many more, but these ones are the two I need. I want to have like the top 0 and left 0 to be like in the corner, the position to be fixed. And I want to have the z-index as high as possible, so like my exploit always floats on top of the page. So just combine these two CSS selectors to substitute the style that I had before. So here's the exact same proof of concept, except we don't use style here, but we use the already loaded CSS to do the same thing. So how does this look? Here's the same thing, width and height, 100%. The same JavaScript execution, and instead of like the style, we now have class, and here everywhere you click, the payload is executed. And that brings me to the eBay demo. So this is how we pulled off this trick on eBay.com, and you actually see like www.ebay.com. And the content of the website is not eBay.com, it's BitSensor, it's us. So how do we do it? Like we showed you how to work with the link, but we can do the same trick with an iframe. And eBay actually allows iframes to be embedded. And usually these iframes are like really, really small, like just to embed like a small YouTube video. But because the class attribute was whitelisted, I found some style that was loaded on the page to make this iframe not really small but really big and spoil the full page. So if you would now do an attack on the user of eBay and say, hey, go to ebay.com, it actually is ebay.com, you can have this really effective phishing attack. And maybe if somebody through your attack will make a payment, you can intercept the payment. Like, it's really, really hard to notice actually. So we can do more. Now we're getting closer and closer to the Indiegogo demo. We can use the CSS that's whitelisted to recreate a pixel perfect copy of the original login form. And here you see like a small demo. We do the same thing, use a class attribute. And to get to the full Indiegogo level exploit, we actually abuse Internet Explorer's passwords autocomplete. And how Internet Explorer works with the password autocomplete is if it finds a form that's loaded into the page and the connection is secure, so it's HTTPS connection, it will always pre-fill your password for you. Now this is very interesting from like an attacker's perspective. Like you saw, it really feels trusted to fill in your password if the browser does it for you, if you have the 100% pixel perfect login form. Except there's one thing we do on the form action. We actually send it cross-domain, so we send it to bitsensor.io instead of Indiegogo.com. And I'll show you like how to recreate this. So in order for this to work, you have to have like a more liberal whitelist, and that's why you can't always pull this off. But if you can, it's a really, really effective exploit. So what I've put in here, all this HTML code, I just copied this from the login bar on this website, and I have to zoom out. This is the original login bar, and now as an attacker we put in this, and this is our fake login bar. If we now, and we will actually post this to. You can like make this your web application to capture like the data. And if I now put in some fake stuff, sign in, it will send this to bitsensor.io, and it means you have access to the credentials. And what we did with Indiegogo is once you post this data, we actually send you back to Indiegogo.com like instantly, so you don't know that this happened in the background. Just so with all the information you have, let's look again and how this works. So this is the using div hijacking the 100% pixel perfect clone. Your browser's in Explorer, so we will pre-fill your password. And notice when we hover on this, you see it really, really tiny, but only here there's a slight indication that it's not posting to Indiegogo.com, but to your external attacker control domain. Now you can click this. what happens in the background is redirect you back, and we got your data. And well, this is how we exploited Indiegogo. But if you think about like what we've learned using CSS and the way this works, we can actually go one step further, and I don't have a demo of that, but what you can do is use the login button, make the form completely transparent, make the login button spawn the full page, just like the link, and then when you click anywhere on the website, you'll post this form to the attack control domain, you will have the password, and you actually don't see anything changed on the website. You don't even see like the login form pops up because you made it fully transparent. So LinkedIn was a pretty tough one because we couldn't use the JavaScript linked. Iframes were allowed, but not cross-domain. What worked was to create an iframe and let it spawn the full page, and like then it gets interesting because we're getting closer to something that we can actually use an attacker to exploit this. But I couldn't find a page that was allowed and that has an open redirect working. So we tried like using SoundCloud and do like an open redirect on SoundCloud back to like bitsensor.io. Didn't work. So we had to be more creative. We had the covering link working, so it was kind of nice, but it's not everything. So what we ended up with is use an image and combine it with the link that covers the full page. I'll show you. So this is LinkedIn, and we're actually using like the blogging platform that you have on LinkedIn. And like we call it like clickjacking with like return-oriented programming, because it's like kind of the same thing. And now you see like everywhere I hover, if I click it, I go to bitsafer.nl. That's my former company. Now let's make this more interesting for phishing. And what we did was just like get a screenshot of the LinkedIn login page, put the screenshot in there, put in the image, made it fully covering. And that's what you see here. It's like the LinkedIn login image. And like it's not as cool as the other two exploits, but I think it's like because it's creative and the LinkedIn security team really likes like what we did here. Is it will like load right now. You see the login form. You check. Oh, it's on actually on LinkedIn.com. We redirect you to another website. Well, it's really hard to notice that you're now on bitsensor.io. You fill in your password. You click login. We send you back to LinkedIn, so it's still hard to notice. And you just lost your password in the process. Like here it is in plain text. So for you as developers, like what can you do against these types of attack? Now, well, the first thing is when you're whitelisting, make sure the whitelist is really strict, like as strict as possible. Because if you now download a whitelist, and I'll show that with a demo as well, if you have a whitelist, the class attribute is whitelisted by default. The ID attribute is whitelisted by default, and I use it as an attacker. So I will like strip them from your whitelist. I would also really be careful if you allow an iframe, and like you have the iframe, but you now also see like, a lot of OEmbed functions in web applications. Like with OEmbed, you also have to be very strict because we used it to hijack pages as well. And the thing is, what's easier and always works is to put it into an iframe. So you now have with HTML5, you have the sandbox, and if you put this in a sandbox, it won't work because the sandbox is smaller than the full page, and we can spawn outside that sandbox. So the attacks like this that you've seen will never actually work. So if you have any questions about security, you can always email me at info@bitsensor.io. And if you like to see our product, that's Bitsensor, doing with big data, Elasticsearch, and IBM are our partners to do like actually instant response. I'll do a quick demo if you like. But for now, any questions about like security and these ways of exploitation?
Hi. When you changed the content of the pages, how like you did it using man in the middle, or because I saw when you changed the content in the blog, probably you just injected some script using the post in the blog, but when it's not the case, how do you get to access to modify the code and insert the scripts?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So for the demo, I just use like an HTML IDE. But actually, what you would do, like in real case scenarios, is, for example, to give the LinkedIn scenario, you could post HTML in your blog post, and that's the place where you put this in. And now somebody reads your blog post, like your HTML is in there, and you can spawn the full page. And the same thing on Indiegogo. You create like this product page, a little bit of HTML was allowed. That was enough to pull off this trick. And on eBay, the same thing. You could write a little bit with HTML styling, and we pull this off. So that's how we use in practice, and that's why the HTML whitelisting comes in. More questions?
Have you checked those exploits behind one of the common web application firewalls? Do they actually filter out or have some solutions to this approach?
No, absolutely not, because you have to learn like what's allowed, and like none of the web application firewalls detected this. And that's because the attack itself, it doesn't execute JavaScript, and that just makes this attack really unique and really hard to filter out. And we with BitSense we're working on a way to actually like filter this out by learning what's like normal HTML and sees what's allowed. But like normally your web application firewall won't detect this. More questions?
Just can you show us again how did you resize the iframe size in the eBay example?
Sure. If you don't mind, I'll just use the link that I have here. So here you have the link with height 100%, and we use the class. So let's now use just an iframe.
Yeah, but usually you don't have access to change the iframe size to set it to 100%.
Yeah, I kind of cheat a little bit to make it easier to show, and that's what you might see in practice, that it's a little bit harder to get this 100% width and height. But you can go to like the CSS and just like there's so many lines of CSS, so many selectors that you just have to find one that says width 100% and one with height 100%. The same way as is here, you see the class top down backdrop and navbar fixed top. You would find other CSS selectors that allow you to have this 100% and this 100% width and height. So you just have to look better. But for the demo, I just use like the quick way to show it, to make it really visual.
Thank you.
More questions about like other security topics as well, maybe, if you're with an issue? Okay, cool. If you like, I'll show you a little bit about what we're doing with Elasticsearch. We're like building the security insight product. We like to help companies like know that they're attacked even before the data is breached, and we've like loaded in 800,000 Apache log files, and we like analyze them on security. And we now have like, and it's for security-wise, I think it's really interesting because you have like this kill chain, and somebody here who doesn't know what a kill chain is. I'll just explain a little bit. Like a kill chain in security, we say, okay, the first step is somebody like probing your server and sees what like running on your server, and all the way like for steps to the end is like somebody actually getting the data. So the more to the end of the kill chain you are, the closer to the data you are from that specific company, or the closer to exporting that company you are. And so we loaded in like a bunch of Apache log files, and we visualize them in Elasticsearch Kibana. And what you see here is like all the way on the top, you see this big dot. So well, this may be interesting, and I can like zoom in really quickly. You can see a lot of detail with And we have like recreated the kill chain here, like a little bit less nicely visualized. You can just zoom in, and what we detected for this customer was you see these two spikes. They're actually like tagged as SQL injection, and after those two spikes, you see this is a minute-to-minute visualization of like the attack, and then in the end, like 17:15, you see like a huge spike in the discovery attack. And what we did, what we can do is now zoom in to this IP address, because we saw this IP address is closely correlated to this attack, and we now can move to a connected graph visualization. And now this is interesting because like all our data is indexed in Elasticsearch, and we're now visualizing this full data set, all of our events that we have, to see how this specific attack really happened and how all the dots are connected. So if I zoom back in to our attacker, what we see here is Hafiji. And I'll just explain a little bit Hafiji for like the non-security people. Hafiji is a tool you can use. It's really easy to get access to a database system. So if you have SQL injection, you have the Hafiji tool. It's like one click, you pull down the full database. You just download the full database. And we saw this attack executed on this application. And from there on, we saw more and more IP addresses connected to this, like we have one here. And this IP address we saw attacked with other IP addresses as well, so it's like quite a sophisticated attack, and we make incident response really, really easy for security people, but even for like less technical people. So if you like to know more about like incident response and like the other way about security and like using Elasticsearch or like doing big data stuff, like talk to us, and that will be cool. So thank you for your time. If you don't have any questions about like what they just show you, then thank you all for coming.